Joining me now, Sky News senior reporter Carolyn Marcus and Radio 2GB host Michael McLaren. Thank you both for your time. Let's start, if we can, please. In this real sense, there's a weakening of Labor's support for Israel as Israel gets set to take on, of course, the Hamas terror regime. We've got 100 of the unions, Australian unions, lending their support to back Palestine against Israel. We've got those front benches. We just saw those comments now. Ed Husic and Ali, both in Cabinet in Canberra, saying that Israel could be investigated for alleged war crimes. We have the two Teals earlier in the week joining with the Greens to condemn Israel and also invoke the language of war crimes. And Michael, we're not even 2 weeks out from that horrific day of tragedy in Israel's south. Labor appears to be going soft. The hard left that now controls the Labor leadership, including the Prime Minister, I have to say, it looks to me like they are asserting themselves.
Yes, I think that's a very good assessment, Peter. And as for that union letter signed by 100 delegates, or whoever they were, I mean, the union movement have to have a good hard look at themselves here. They've backed the yes case, despite, I would assume, a lot of their members wanting absolutely no union intervention whatsoever, and they've obviously been on the wrong side of that. They're now getting involved in this. I mean, if I was a lowly paid healthcare worker or someone cleaning the bathrooms in a hospital as part of the health services union, this is not where I want my hard-earned dues going. I want the union fighting for pay rises for me and better conditions for me, not getting involved in international political stories which, let's be blunt, won't be solved anytime soon, even at the highest diplomatic levels. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So the unions have to pull their head in, as do some of these other MPs. I mean, talking of war crimes and the like, it's something that is being said very easily, shall we say, from, thank God, peaceful, safe Australia, for the time being anyway. If the shoe was on the other foot and we were the ones, our communities, even these MPs' communities, being attacked by a terrorist organisation and thousands of people losing their lives in the most horrific circumstances in their homes, I don't think, should the Australian government decide to retaliate, they'd be using the same language.
And of course, Caroline, you were at the coalface today. You were at an event with the Jewish community campaigning for hostages taken by Hamas to be released. Incredibly emotional scenes. Have a listen.
To the media and politicians, there should be one question out there to Hamas. When are you going to release our hostages, our families, our children, our sons, our daughters, our grandparents?
Yeah, this is not an academic question for a lot of these people, Jewish community people in Australia, because they have close family and friends in Israel impacted.
It's a topic that still beggars belief for me that we don't have universal recognition that these hostages should be released, but instead the focus seems to have moved very quickly, and not just on the Greens, but now in government today as well, hearing from these ministers, onto the suffering of the Palestinians people. And of course there should be focus on any innocent civilian lives that are lost, but so quickly have they forgotten about these 200 hostages that were brutally taken from their homes, from peace festivals, and held by Hamas in Gaza. And where is the condemnation of Hamas for what they've done from these so-called human rights organisations, from the Greens, from these Labor ministers who are talking about alleged war crimes? We hear very little from these same people about that. And I have to say, as a member of the Jewish community, the community is not feeling safe. We're hearing all the time reports of threats, allegations that are being made of alleged crimes against Jews. I covered a couple of cases last week where one man had allegedly threatened 4 teenage boys who were displaying the Israel flag. Another where 3 men stood outside the Jewish museum where Holocaust survivors still volunteer and displayed a Nazi salute, allegedly, and they're going to face court over that. And of course, in Melbourne, we saw people openly parading on public transport doing the Nazi salute on the streets of Melbourne. We very much don't feel safe. And I broke the news today, Peter, that on those repatriation flights from Israel, the Australian Federal Police actually put air marshals on those planes because clearly there is a threat to Israelis and Australian Israelis returning from those countries in terms of security. Now, that was a program that was scaled back, but obviously there was enough of a risk for them to feel that they needed to put those air marshals, those plainclothes armed officers on planes. So it is a very real threat for the community. And I think in all this rush to see both sides of the issue, we are forgetting how this started and the atrocity that started it and why Israel needs to defend itself.